Do you ever get the feeling that things aren't going to plan when you can't find the flow on the trail? Well, one of the problems could be that you've got a sticking front brake. Let's have a look how to solve it. Now, the problem with a sticking brake is not only is it going to make a hideous noise, but it's also going to drain the energy out of you. It's also going to take more battery life than you would normally use. And also, in extreme situations, it might actually be quite dangerous and have you off in a corner if it locks up. Now, a sticking brake can actually be quite a subtle thing, as on this example here. And you know what? If you're out on your bike for about half an hour, you're not even going to notice that. However, if you're in the saddle for about 4 to 6 hours, that's a big accumulation of fatigue, which you shouldn't really need to have. And the thing is, it's probably going to have an uneven wear on your brakes. And the key thing is, it's certainly going to reduce the life of your brake pads. Most mountain bikes these days come with a post-mount system, which means it's really quite simple to realign the caliper on your bike. And you do this by way of either a T25 or an Allen key. So we're going to show you now a simple process on how to do it. Now, the theory goes is that all you need to do is actually release the bolts on the caliper really slightly, and that should release the tension between the caliper and the disc. Now, I'm in a church in Italy and I've got a 3-way T25. Obviously, you'd be normally on the top of a mountain with a little Allen key set. So what I'm going to do is simply release these bolts just a touch so that the caliper moves. Just a touch, maybe like half a turn to a turn. Then the next process is you need to pull on the front brake lever, and then that should align the caliper back up on the disc absolutely squarely. And then all you do is nip it back up again, and that should, in fact, realign your disc correctly. And then you just release the front brake, and then let's try the front wheel. It should be spinning freely. Boom, so that's how it should work. The front wheel is spinning and spinning and spinning with no rub whatsoever. However, it's not always that easy. So if that's the case, we need to go into some fine tuning of the disc pads on the caliper. So you've gone through the pulling the brake technique, but there's still a little bit of drag in the system. So what to do next? Well, now it comes down to fine tuning. So the first thing you do is get behind the caliper and have a look straight on at it, and you might be able to see that maybe one part is rubbing a bit more than the other. So what you do is go to the part that's rubbing, might be the top, might be the bottom, and then loosen that off just a touch so you can get some movement in the system. At the same time, you actually need to loosen the other bolt as well, but even less so that you can actually move the caliper. And then by eye, you simply move that caliper so you can see a bit of daylight between the disc and the pads. And you've got that, and then all you do is nip that back up again, and you should be good. Whoa, so this is perplexing. I've been through the brake technique, I've tried fine-tuning the caliper, and do you know what? I can actually see daylight between the brake pads and the disc. Yeah, there's still a bit of rubbing in the system, so this can only mean that my disc is bent. Now, if you're out on the trail, trying to re-straighten a disc is quite a tricky process unless you've got a friendly farmer that's close by, or you get a mate who's got an adjustable. So if that's the case, it's probably something to sort out back in the workshop at home. Now, what if you simply cannot get any daylight between your brake pads and the disc? Well, if that's the case, you might have what's known as a sticky piston. And to do this, the first thing to do is take the front wheel out. Now remember, this is going to be done trailside on top of a mountain, not outside a church in the middle of a city in northern Italy. So remember, on your e-bike, if you turn it upside down, the controls are going to be quite vulnerable if they're on the ground. So if you get a backpack or something like that, you simply put that on the ground and use it as a support while you have a look at your discs. Now, the first job to do once you've flipped your bike upside down, you've taken your wheel out, is to take your disc pads out of your caliper. Once you've done that with your pads safely, you get a tyre lever out or something similar. It could be a lollipop stick bent in half, and all you do is simply prise the pistons back into the caliper really, really gently. You don't want to force this too hard because it could force brake fluid back up through the line and into your brake lever. So there you go, just simply lever it, get a bit of purchase on it, and push them back in really gently. In that way, you should be able to get a little bit more space between the disc brake pads and the disc. Now you try to move your pistons back inside that caliper to create some more space for the disc pads. All you do is get your pads back in place. So you've got your wheel back in. Now the second stage is to flip it back over and now pull the front brake. And at first it might feel a little bit spongy, so you need to just keep on pumping it until they get some bite there between the disc pad and the disc. It should be only like half a dozen pumps and she should be there. So there's how to fix some rubbing brake pads from a church in northern Italy. For another masterclass on how to adjust your gears, check out this video over here. Hope you like this video. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. Please give us a thumbs up if you like it, and also subscribe if you have not already done so.